Good evening, everyone. Give it a minute here for people to start checking in. Hey, Leanne. Hey, Scarlett. How are you? Hungry Hippo. Welcome, welcome to the show. I don't want to call it a show. This is a program. Nadia, welcome. Hi, Irman. Nice to see you. Eunice. Hey, Eunice. Valley Girl. Welcome. Nina. Welcome, welcome. How are you? Miss Garcia. Tonight we've got a special guest. We've been talking about the Melissa Lucio case or situation for the last couple of weeks already. And although I'm all for the death penalty, just listening to everyone, considering everything all over again, and I'm still for the death penalty, but not in this case. I'm a firm believer, and you just can't be 100% pro death penalty across the board and not care about the details. You have to care about the details in this case. So with me tonight is LinMarie Garsee. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Perfect. Glad you can. Really glad you can make it. This is awesome. Everybody is looking forward to getting your opinion and your facts, whatever you can speak of. We know there's a lot of stuff certain things that you can't touch on, um, but you know how to get around that, or you'll let us know when you can't, like we talked about the other day.
Exactly.
Um, so for the record, I guess, where do things stand right now? What's the status of everything right now?
The execution date is still on for April the 27th, like we all know. Her new attorneys have filed more papers as of February of this, just last February, yesterday or last month, and they have not been ruled on yet.
Not been ruled on yet. Okay, and that can happen up until when?
Um, it could get to the last minute.
Right. And by that we mean that dramatic last couple of minutes phone call. Everybody's waiting by the phone for that phone to ring. Presumably, it would be Governor Abbott making a call saying, "All right, hold
No,
on." Nope,
no.
that's not how that works.
Mm-mm. Um, I'll get into that where he comes into play, but no, it would not come from them.
And
Doubtful.
and, and like we said yesterday, he's right now he's got no say in this. Even if he wanted to, there's nothing he can do right now.
Nothing. And the more that, I talked with you earlier about this. I think that the more that the people bash him, if I were in his shoes and I kept hearing, well, he needs to step in, he needs to do this, people don't need to be telling him what his job is because he's doing his job. And if someone were completely, or a group were completely bashing me all the time, I'm not so sure I would rule in their favor.
Yeah, I understand that, and the question has come up. It's like, oh, I wonder if he even knows what's going on. I'm pretty sure he's well aware of what's going on in this case. I mean, there has been noise made about it, but has there been enough noise made about it? I mean, has this caught his attention that you think?
I believe it has, yes.
Yeah, yeah, I would hope so. I'm trying to get the good folks from the freemelissalucio.org. I've been in contact with them today, and I'm trying to get them on in the next day or so to see, if anybody wants to help or what's going on with what they're doing and what are their efforts. So that should be interesting as well. So you've watched some of the stuff going on the last few days, and some of the chatter and the talk of the shows. Um, let's see. Okay, so why was some evidence not allowed? Was it not allowed, or did her attorneys just not bring it forward?
At the original trial,
Yeah.
okay, I was not the investigator at the original trial, but I was with the state and the federal writ with Margaret Schmucker.
Okay.
From everything that I read, everything that I saw, talking with Norma Villanueva, who was the mitigation expert at the time, Gilman was told, certain things that he could have used. But I call it an unseasoned attorney who doesn't have the ability or the knowledge to know proper procedure and proper things that you need to put into a death penalty case. I called it a kangaroo court.
That's what it sounds like. And so, having said that, wouldn't the I guess in this case the Supreme Court be aware of this? And I mean, how did
Nothing has gone to the Supreme Court.
not yet? Nothing. So not even an initial appeal.
Court. No.
So appeal didn't happen yet.
No, the appeals have happened.
Okay.
Let me just kind of run you down, okay?
Oh, please, yes.
All right. First, we have a trial. Then there's what is called a direct appeal. The direct appeal has a separate attorney other than the trial attorney. From the direct appeal, he or she can only write on exactly what happened at trial. But before he can write on anything, he has to get with the clerk and the court reporter. Each has to make 3 copies of everything. Okay. One copy of the court reporter's file will stay with the clerk. One will go to the direct appeal attorney, and one will go to the 11.071, which is the state writ attorney, because they're going to need to be working on these things kind of simultaneously. And it's really good if the state attorney and the direct appeals attorney can work together, on what they're looking at and what the direction that they need to go. Now, in this case, well, I'll get back with that. Let me continue. So then you have the state, and then from the state, then you have the 2254, which is the federal writ. When Margaret filed her 2254 in the Fifth Circuit, Melissa won that, even though Margaret was no longer her attorney and Richard Ellis did the oral arguments. It was Margaret's work that got her a win. It was remanded back to the district court. The district court then appealed it to the CCA. So that's why these things take so long, is because it's not only do you have all of the appeals and it takes time to go through, and there's time limitations on this, and there's it's specific things. Okay, for instance, like the Oklahoma City bomber. After he had killed so many people, he had all of these federal deaths, and that's when the AEDPA came out, because they said, no, you're not going to keep filing a federal writ. So that shut it down to only one shot at 11.071, but there are exemptions. And that's where Melissa's at now, is exemptions. It would not surprise me if there's not an 11.075 writ filed any day, if it hasn't already been filed.
And the AEDPA is the Anti-Terrorism Effective Death Penalty Act.
Correct.
In this case of 1996 is when that was brought forward.
Exactly.
Okay.
So whenever they're writing these appeals, and when the direct appeal attorney says, okay, he tells the clerk, okay, I want this part, and I want this part, and this part, and this part of the transcript, because it's like I could be reading the book Moby Dick, but I can't give a book report on Three Little Pigs. So I got to know what I'm looking for. And so there's just a myriad of things. So let's just say that everything gets to the courts, and they file whatever writ they're going to file, one of the exceptions to the 11.071, but we still have an execution date looming. 21 days prior to the execution, the attorneys will do a request for clemency to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. Once the pardons and paroles make their ruling, then and only then can it go to the governor. In the meantime, you still have all of the writs still going. So we won't know until there's a ruling by, it'll go here and it'll go CCA and it goes Fifth Circuit, and we won't know anything. So there's a lot of things that people can be doing.
Yeah.
Not just that petition. How about personally writing to the Board of Pardons and Parole? How about personally contacting your congressman or your state representatives in a kind manner, not, huffy puffy, and, you can attract more flies with honey than you can with vinegar.
Yes, correct.
And so there's things that the public can be doing right now. Do I think that she got a crappy deal? Oh, hell yeah, I do. I think they said, someone asked if Gilman, working for the DA's office is a conflict of interest. Well, it's not right now because he doesn't have the case. But yes, I feel like it is because that DA's office is what's ruling on Melissa's case.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I'm not working for the attorney that's handling this right now.
Oh man, this is so I wanted to ask you, there's been a clip, there was a clip going around on the internet where you had this conversation. And if you're not allowed to discuss that conversation, of course you'll let us know. But a conversation you had with one of the daughters, Alexandra.
I had it with two of
them.
Mm-hmm.
And the clip that I was playing before, which is on my YouTube page, said what she outright told you.
Exactly.
And kind of boasting about it. Not boasting, but saying, yeah, so what?
I can tell you exactly where we were. We were sitting at her aunt's house in Combs, Texas, not a half a mile from the cemetery where that baby's buried.
Okay, and this is just, I don't know, I'm going to say her name. You're not saying any names, but I don't know if that's how you are with that situation. I'm talking about Alexandra.
Exactly. And I called her Alex because that's her nickname at the time.
Alex. Okay, right. Okay.
So Alex is leaned with her back against the kitchen cabinet. The two aunts, myself and Esperanza, the grandmother, are sitting at the table. Selena would be to her left, to my right, kind of in a utility area room.
Mm.
And I was asking questions about what happened that day. And I will never, ever, ever forget this. She finally spewed out, because I was asking some pretty hardcore questions. Yes, I did it. So what are you going to do? Kill me too?
Wow.
She admitted she pushed that baby down the stairs. And that was in my affidavit that went into the first 22.54 federal writ. It was there. It was in the state writ and it was in the federal writ. So I can tell you that because it's already published.
And why?
I mean, Selena, hold on. Okay. Selena is looking over, and she goes, cállese. And I'm a big gringa, but you know what? I'm not a pendeja también. I knew what she was saying. Stop talking to this woman.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was. Oh man. Okay, so in the documentary, Gilman says, "Well, I didn't want to ruin this young person's life. She had her whole life ahead of her." And
when I interviewed Gilman during my investigation, he said that it was trial strategy. And that's how a lot of attorneys get past this, is they say trial strategy. And he did mention, that, well, she was just a young girl, why would we want to ruin her life? And I told him, I said, she was not your client. Melissa was your client.
Right.
You could have got her a court-appointed attorney and done something with it. But because of her age, she won't get the death penalty.
Right. And how old was she making that
16.
comment to you? 16.
16.
Yeah, they're not going to send her to death row.
No, she was no. I forgot what year it was, but they made a ruling that anyone 18 and under or under 18 cannot get the death sentence. And that's when they took several off of death row who were like 17 and 3 days or 17 and whatever.
Wow. And you think, oh, my goodness. And that's been on your mind the entire, I mean, the whole
14
time.
years.
The whole time.
14 years.
Okay, so let's see. Angela's got a question. Is she being charged because she fell down the stairs and that caused a murder, or the abuse that came before it?
I don't think that Melissa abused her before because she had just gotten her back, Angela, and she had been at foster care. If you'll recall, CPS had taken her because she was born with cocaine in her system at birth, and foster care had her all that time. So any healing bones or whatever, I think the foster parents should have been examined. In fact, I tried to talk with those foster parents, and they slammed the door after they showed a gun and told me to get off their property.
No way.
Yeah, way. So they refused to speak with me.
Yeah, at 16, that would have been maybe a little more harsh than that, but it would not have been death row. They could have said, well, there were two kids playing, and she didn't mean to kill her, obviously, but I mean, it was pretty obvious when I saw the documentary, when her segment came on, I was like, dang, she didn't like that kid. She did not like Mariah.
No, she did not. As she said, she was tired of changing diapers.
Yeah, I'm sure it interfered with, I mean, like it would with anyone, right? Any young person, they don't want to be babysitting forever. They want to go out and have their teenage years.
That's true. But, let's think about where we are right now where they are right now as adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you didn't like the lifestyle you grew up in, there are a lot of ways that you can change and break the cycle if you want to. Or if you want to waller in your own self-pity, that's another thing. But there are counseling, there's free counseling, there is churches that offer counseling. She had the opportunity to get counseling at school. Anybody can get an education or become anything they want. I mean, if cauliflower can become pizza crust and squash can become spaghetti, you can do whatever dream you want.
Yeah. So the next question would be, and I know you said this before, we've talked about it before, there is no statute of limitations in this case.
None. And so she's not completely free because
Right.
even if Melissa's executed, there's still a murder. And if it can be proven, which I believe it can, and I believe that there's enough evidence to bring a murder charge on her, and she can be tried at 16 for murder. So, whether they want to make a big stink about, let's go ahead and kill my mom and she was evil and she was all these things, there is not one report anywhere that says that Melissa was violent or that she was abusive. Yes, she was negligent. But you know what? I'd be tired of having 14 kids too.
Yeah, I can see that. I get that.
I would be exhausted. And that's not an excuse at all. But these kids have and still have the opportunity to twist it around and be something other than a crybaby.
Has Melissa said anything to that fact that, or even remotely close to saying, yeah, Alexandra was the one playing with her or heavy with her, or difficult with her. I
I'm going to
mean,
leave that to the attorneys to answer if you don't mind,
okay,
because it could go to an investigation of who really did this.
gotcha. And okay, so let's turn to Selena now. He said she was there as well, and oh my goodness, yeah, this is
I think Selena is covering up for Alexandria because Alexandria ain't got, I mean, I don't mean to be ugly or rude or anything else, but she's a lot of French fries shy of a Happy Meal. I mean, she just, I'm sorry, but she don't have a lot of snap and the colors ain't real bright in the box. And so I think Selena is Alex's mouthpiece.
so that would make Alexandra now almost 30, around 30.
A little over 30, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. What about the foster parents? So that kind of injury. Let's see. Okay, let's go back. What can you tell us about John and the night he visited? When I heard, okay, he spoke to the other page called Lone Star Plate. They had him and Melissa's sister was there. John was there, and I think Melissa's niece. And John said he visited that night the night before, and she was there. He thought she was already gone, that she was cold. And do you know anything about? Can you say anything to about John's participation or lack of in any of this?
I will just say that if he felt that way, he should have done something.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night. I was like, how could he? Anyone you come across, especially if it's your sibling or a family member,
And
and
especially that this is a baby that I love so much.
yeah, yeah. And do you have any idea what was he? Not that it matters. I don't think it does. What he was in jail for or any of that stuff.
No, I mean, I do,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I know. I understand.
I
If
mean,
you
I,
haven't,
I don't want to be, I don't want to come across that I'm being, the biggest biatch that ever was, bad mouthing everybody. And
no.
that's not what I'm here for.
Yep.
But I will put it on record now. I've said this since I've started working Melissa's case. I will put my private investigations license on the table and say, I will bet this license that she is innocent.
Yeah. I mean, the more and more this gets talked about, the more that. Oh my
Angela, who
goodness.
is the she that you're talking about?
So where she said that she had head trauma, like a concussion, because of the fall downstairs, and that was the cause of the charge.
Who's the she?
Yeah, Angela, who's the she that you're talking about? Can Gilman assist now by admitting he left out evidence? Does he have any remorse? Well, I mean, he didn't have remorse then. At least I don't think he did. It didn't seem like it.
I think Gilman was out for, the new paycheck coming in. And as far as Gilman having any remorse, that's a question that you'd have to ask Mr. Gilman, because when I interviewed him, he did not appear to have any.
Yeah, just from that little clip in the documentary, he didn't seem to. Obviously, he didn't want to talk to about it too much. He just wanted to. Yeah, I don't.
And the
first he said remember, then he said, oh no, I don't remember.
Yeah, and the thing is that Gilman couldn't assist now by admitting that he left anything out, because he's already given affidavits that said it was trial strategy.
Melissa, just because she didn't like her, that doesn't mean that she hurt her, much less killed her. I don't know. You go first.
No, who's the she's? Y'all
okay, she's saying about Alexandra. She's talking about Alexandra.
Okay. I disagree with you.
See, my whole thing was that maybe she, intentionally, I don't know, made her trip or pushed her to fall down, not ever thinking this would end up in a death, and where it is now. not necessarily wanted to kill her. Yeah.
No, I believe that. I don't believe that it was an intentional to kill her, but I also think that she didn't have a lot of snap and think about the repercussions of what might happen.
Yeah. So, okay, hang on. Let me get to a couple more of these, and I'll ask my next question. Is it true?
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Never had any previous criminal history with law enforcement at all.
No.
Yeah, and everything I've heard on all the different hundreds of videos that are out there on YouTube, she was never a violent person. She was never abusive to any of the kids at all. Not even when it came to discipline. She would let either someone else do it, or there wouldn't be any discipline. That she was just not that. She didn't have that in her. And you're right. And how do you go from none of that to one day now you're abusive? You're so abusive that you kill a child.
Well, in fact, in that interview that I did with Alex, she admitted that she was the one who did the punishment. She was the one that spanked. And I asked her, I said, so you spanked a 2-year-old? She said, of course. I said, would you spank your 2-year-old? Because at that time she had a baby already. And she said, well, no. I said, so why did you do to that baby what you won't do to your baby? She wouldn't answer.
Mm. You know, I got to tell you, when I saw the documentary and Alexandra's segment came up, it was really creepy. I got a really bad feeling. And just her demeanor, the way she looked, the way she responded. And it was like, Melissa's not guilty. And it was just automatic right then and there. Like, Melissa's not guilty. Is it really interesting?
Alex to keep quiet because Selena has covered up for Alex all these years. Selena could also, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but she could also be accountable in the law if Alex is charged with anything. An accessory
to whatever they decide. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's happening.
Right. Just theoretically.
Yes.
So that everyone says about there being no previous incidents of Melissa abusing any of her kids, that doesn't mean that nights before she didn't do anything to her. Remember, she was on drugs. She may have had a really bad day and actually did something to Mariah. Yeah, so that has come up. The drug abuse, addiction she was under, could that have caused something that she might not have even known that she...
No, I disagree, because even the kids said that whenever Melissa would do her drugs, she would go to the bathroom, she would get her high, and then she would come back down, and then she would come out of the bathroom. That even all of the kids has said that.
Yeah, I do remember hearing that. And she'd be there for 2 or 3 hours if she had to be. And she would get over that high, and then that's when she would finally come out of the bathroom. I think everyone in that house had some sort of notion should be tried as a co-conspirator. So, talking about Selena now, you've heard, I don't know if you've seen, she's been online, you've been talking about, she's been online doing lives on TikTok. And after, there was a show last week where I started streaming I've been wanting to talk to her. And she's been ignoring every attempt that I've made to try to engage in a conversation, just to for real, tell me, we want to hear from you. And she wouldn't talk to me, but she would talk to me through her TikTok live. And it was a really weird, bizarre situation. But, and back then, I considered having the family on either separately or all together. And after what happened that Thursday night, I decided not to. It became a spectacle, which I didn't want it to be that way. And I think they've got so much to deal with right now that I don't want to exploit them. I don't want to show like a circus. I don't want, it's already difficult. Mom's possibly going to be gone in, 40 days or whatever it is. And everybody's high strung. Everybody's stressed out. Everybody's fighting with each other. But her on doing her TikToks and just spurting out whatever she's saying, I don't know. She goes from supporting mom to no, mom was abusive, or no, mom never abused anybody. And
Manny, I don't even think Dr. Phil could help this family. I mean, I think they all put the D in dysfunctional.
yeah,
And it goes back to, and I will, I'm going to go back to when Melissa was 13 and was raped, and her mother didn't believe her. Um, there is something psychological that takes place with a 13-year-old girl, and she gets screwed up in the head.
yeah,
And unless she gets support and counseling, or she's a very, very strong willed person, it's very difficult to overcome that. You feel cheap, you feel unwanted, you feel, well, I'm not worth anything anymore. And her self esteem took a real big nosedive, big fall. So you have to go back to your mother didn't believe you, you didn't feel worthy, you didn't feel like you were worth anything, so you just went with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and you started having babies. You thought, well, a baby will help me overcome whatever.
hmm.
It'll help me overcome. It'll make me feel worthy. And then um, because you didn't have proper protection, you didn't have you know, financial help for, birth control. And this guy wanted to have a baby and this guy wanted to have sex. And, she had 3 husbands. And so they all wanted to have sex. And she didn't have a means of protecting herself. And they sure didn't evidently have a means or didn't use anything.
Yeah,
And so you just have baby after baby after baby. And that takes a toll on a woman's body, not only the body, but mentally. I can see where I can see where she would be exhausted, and she would have you know, uh, to rely on her older children.
yeah. And they were acting as, like Daniela has said, she was like their second mom.
She was, because the older kids help take care of the younger kids.
Yeah,
And do we trust the memory of younger children?
hmm.
Because you stop and think. We as adults teach our kids to lie. We tell them that the Easter Bunny is real. We tell them that there's a real Santa Claus. And we as adults know that that isn't true. So we're teaching our kids to lie. So if a younger child, overhears adults repeating and repeating and repeating something that may not be true, that forms the seed into a child's mind, and therefore they just don't get it. You
Yeah,
know, they can't differentiate between a truth and a lie.
yeah. And this comment here, Manny and Alicia say that what we were talking about earlier. Every time Selena talks about this on TikTok, and then the finger pointing that was going on the other night, and that presumably goes on even if they're not live. That can't help any of this at all. It can't help. I mean, it doesn't help Melissa whatsoever.
You know, every time I hear them say that, and
Yeah,
I want to go back to a biblical verse, and it says, "Honor their mother and their father, and your days will be long." And I keep thinking, why? We serve a loving, good God who forgives us. No matter what, that's still the mother, and I feel sad for them. And in fact, I actually pray for those kids that are trying to put their mother to death, because that's the only thing I can do for them. I'm not going to get into a verbal pissing match with them, because, as my grandmother used to say, you play with poop, you're going to smell like poop. And so I'm just not going to get involved in any of them kind of pissing matches with them. Um,
is
yes,
it?
the Innocence Project is involved.
Yeah, that's got to be very good. Hello. Not a she. Sorry. In general, I heard mention of it. I think she's talking about that, about the injury, about the head injury. Yeah, how
No one
long?
knew that she had the head injury until after it was all said and done.
Because Alexandra, even though presumably if she did what she did, she probably had no idea what, if anything, happened either. For all she knows,
Exactly. She
she
was young.
just
She wasn't a nurse. She wasn't around medical. She was uneducated in the medical field and in health.
okay. That's what we thought. No, so what about the mother, Hope Esperanza?
Esperanza.
Yeah, they interviewed her in the documentary, and she said, well, the judge said she was guilty, and the jury said she was guilty, so she was guilty. I mean,
That's pure ignorance.
wow, I couldn't. That was amazing.
That
You
is
know.
that is and when it okay, I'm glad you brought her up. Whenever I met them that day, I asked for certain things from her that would assist me in being able to do a mitigation part of the state appeal, to help me understand things a little bit better. I had to, because remember, back up, and I told you that we're on timelines, that
Right.
we can only that we only have X amount of time. I begged that woman over and over, please get me these things, please get me these things, please get me these things. And
Mm-hmm.
it took her forever. So the tears that were shed, they did nothing for me. I I'm a pretty sympathetic old gal, but whenever I see them crocodile tears that I know are fake, they don't do nothing to me.
So this comment here, and this was talked about the other day, because she was living in, we'll call it poverty, at some level of poverty. I mean, does, in your experience in the legal system and dealing with death penalty cases, does that really affect the service or the quality of a trial that people get because they are very poor?
I think it
I
depends
know
on
if you're
your
very
attorney.
rich, I know if you're very rich, you can afford to have, the Johnny Cochrans of the world.
I
But
work for some pretty dadgum good attorneys that we have gotten life without parole instead of the death penalty. But you have to have a seasoned attorney who knows what they're doing.
hmm,
90% of my clients are of poverty level or below. Some are even homeless. Some have very little education, and some are mentally have mental issues. Um, I think that in Melissa's case, that she was manipulated, she was tired, she was sad, she had just lost a baby or just found out she lost her baby. I think there was a myriad of mental issues as far as what her mental state was at the time. And I feel like that Texas Ranger, um, geez, oh Pete's. I
hmm,
mean, that's the one that I wonder, how does he live with himself? Because you twist what she says around, and it's not a matter of being educated or uneducated. I'm going to tell y'all folks something. When you get arrested or someone takes you in, the first thing you say is, I want an attorney right now. And you
right.
shut your mouth. You don't say that the weather looks good. You don't say, I need to go to the bathroom. You don't say, I need a drink of water. You say, I want an attorney now. And that's all you keep repeating. But see, people go in and think, well, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to be able to explain things. No, you're
Right.
not. You're going to mess it up.
Yeah, I'll just say yes, I did it, and then I can go get lunch or dinner. They'll feed me, and then they'll come back, and then I'll tell another story or whatever.
No, it don't work like that.
Yeah.
They're going to take whatever you say and twist it around to fit the story that they want it to have. Bottom line, I want an attorney, and keep
Yeah.
your mouth shut.
Yeah. No criminal history is something to consider. I have a question. Did Alexandra, again, if you can answer, did Alexandra admit pushing her down the stairs? Actually, uh,
Yes, you came in late on the party, Leo and Sam. Uh, we already discussed that, but yes, she did admit that to me.
Yeah, and the two boys actually saw her fall. Did they mention Alex pushing her? Was there any of that
We
conversation
weren't
there?
allowed to interview them at the time because they had already been sent to a cousin in San Antonio, and she was adopting them, and she refused for us to be able to interview them at the time.
This is a young girl. Did you see how high those steps were? I believe she would have fallen. She would have. Why didn't anyone take her to the hospital?
Yes, I was there.
Uh,
I went to the place that it took place. I took lots of pictures.
yeah, so that's some. Yeah, from the second to the first floor, one row straight down without a landing or anything. It's just straight down, and that's and those steps are in bad shape now. Apparently, they still. I think the place is condemned. I don't think anybody lives there. She struggled to imitate how she spanked the baby like it was not natural. Yeah, when the guy kept saying, "How hard did you hit her? That hard, or was it
That
harder?"
hard? No, it was harder.
Yeah,
Didn't you hit her harder?
right.
No, no. Melissa didn't know how to. Okay, and Faith, you're right. Melissa is not guilty.
I think Melissa is still covering for the daughter who did the abuse to Mariah. Yep, agreed. Yes, Mariah, I agree. She admitted it. Okay. If Alexandra did cause Mariah's death and Melissa knows exactly what happened, she'll probably die with such secret. I truly feel that this is in this case, no one will ever know what really happened. Melissa loves her daughter, her children, to throw them under the bus. I say this because she would have never confessed to killing Mariah and would have just said that it was whoever.
How do you know that Melissa hasn't told someone?
Uh-huh. Again, just an assumption, and yeah, we don't know what's going on in the yeah. Mm-hmm. Melissa was not a good mom because she only cared about her drug abuse. She kept having babies, even though she couldn't take care of them. The baby wasn't her daughter's responsibility. So guilty of neglect, yes, but that Alex and Selena are hiding something. Yeah, so it'd be
She
interesting.
is no, yeah, she is guilty of neglect, but she's not guilty of murder, and she's darn sure not guilty of capital murder.
Yeah, and even okay, so let's say uh, negligent homicide. Does that sound
Two
like
to
something
20.
2 to 20? So presumably time served, being right at the 15-year mark, give or take.
Well, even at 2 to 20, she would be eligible for parole at 50% because it would be an aggravated uh, crime. So she would have been eligible at 10 years.
Mm,
But just because someone says that they're eligible, that does not mean that they're going to make parole.
right, right.
I'm on several of these groups that, well, my son's eligible for parole at, you know, X time. And, they don't like hearing just because he's eligible does not mean that he's going um, to be released.
Right, because it's still a process, and it's still an interview, and they have to, and some of them
Oh, there's lots of things that goes on to get
are.
parole.
Is there any kind of automatic? Well, first time it gets rejected no matter what. Is there any kind of
Not
that
really.
kind of
Not
yeah?
really.
Okay.
No, not really. It depends on the crime, and it depends, especially if you can get ¿cómo se llama? A parole packet attorney, a
Mm,
parole attorney. They're good about putting good packets together. Most of the ones that I know have good rapport with the Board of Pardon and Paroles, and they're able to present it. They're able to talk about it. And but once again, we're looking at a time, factors. These have to be turned into the pardon and parole 6 months before the eligibility date, and then you have to ask for a hearing, and then the inmate is interviewed. So there's other factors go in, but there's another thing is that it's when time served, good time earned
mm.
equals sentence, you're paroled out.
And do you know? Is there anything you can speak of? There's been talk that she's been in fights in prison, or she's had
No,
a attitude problem and that kind of thing at
no.
all.
I even asked the warden at one time. I said, "Has there been any issues whatsoever?" She goes, "Her? No."
Yeah, because somebody brought that up. I don't know if it was this Sabrina's documentary, but it might have been one of the other videos going on YouTube. And somebody said, "Yeah, she's a problem. She's been a problem. She's got into fights, and she even altered with a guard."
Oh, that's hogwash.
And I had never. Yeah, that's in one of the videos I saw.
No, that's hogwash. See, that's another reason I wanted to go on the show, is because there has been so much suppositions, erroneous information put out there about Melissa, erroneous that she did this, she did that. It was like that stupid chick this afternoon, saying that that Gilman should have used the Michael Morton Act. Well, crap. The Michael Morton Act didn't come out until 2014 or 2015, and Melissa's case was 2007 and 8.
Yeah.
So how could Michael Morton have come into play? If you don't know what you're talking about, shut up.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Let's talk about where the baby is right now. I know at some point it was not known where little Mariah was buried.
I knew where she was.
You always know where she was at.
Yeah.
The
Because
family
every time
claims
I come to the valley, I go by that cemetery and see that baby's gravesite. But whenever we did the documentary, the auntie didn't know where it was. I had to walk them over to the fence line and show them where it was. And they live right there in Combs, not even a mile from that cemetery.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let me get back to that too. Here, I think that was crazy for the mother not doing anything to help Melissa. I've been there to suffer from chronic depression, bipolar, and chronic PTSD and anxiety. Well, I've been diagnosed with that. I'm not doubting Melissa has some kind of mental health issue. It's just sad. And Leo saying, yes, the mother was responsible for getting the child medical help, regardless of who, what, when. Drugs, no drugs, had nothing to do with it getting medical help. That alone would have given the baby a chance to survive. All I'm hearing is a bunch of excuses. Yeah, she wouldn't die. I'm not saying that, but a baby did die due to negligence.
No one knows, because the baby was not taken to a doctor, whether the child would have lived or not. That's a supposition.
Yeah, the thing with John going to visit the baby that night bothers me. I mean, it sounds like it was too late already. Even if he would have taken it.
Oh, Jose, I like this question.
What can we do besides? Yeah, we're getting to that as well. We're going to get to that in just a little bit, because there are things you can do, and they're very important. I love this lady. She says it like it is. There you go. So do I. I told you she was a firecracker. I think I told somebody she's a combination of a firecracker, a bulldog, and a Texas Rose all together.
Well, ain't you just special?
On Thursday's show, it seemed like Selena was just trying too hard to look like a good mom, but proved otherwise. She seems fake and very, very immature. And this is an opinion of Manny and Alicia. Now, I will say it was past 2:00 in the morning, and those kids were still up with her. I mean, they were awake, running around, and whatever. I mean, I question her on she's giving the kid fruit juice late at night. Turned out to be sugar-free fruit juice, but she went on for a half an hour about it's nobody's business what she feeds her child. But
yeah, I don't watch any of that mess, and the reason not is because I have so many other clients that I can't get into the drama. Yeah. I don't want into the drama because I have to keep my mind clear for my next client. And right now I've got 2 death penalties, 2 non-death penalty capitals. I've got murder cases, and I've got sexual assaults, and I'm working 2 appeals.
So you've got your plate very full.
Well, that and plus the other things that I do.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that as well. I agree. If the son did say she fell and the mother knew, why did she just brush it off? The steps were pretty high. Yeah, everything it's if Alex did it and Selena knows it, both of them will never be happy. This will rule their lives forever.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Has there been any link found between Villalobos' corruption and Lucio case, or is it just a coincidence? Is there, not that you can talk about that either, but I imagine there's, it seems obvious, but
That's a lawyer question.
Yeah. We'll try to get somebody else to answer that one in the next few days. Thanks for asking that, Annette. Thank you. Great show. Thanks, Nadia. Here, big comment. So Selena says that they are not allowed to visit Melissa. I noticed John hasn't posted that he has gone to see her since Bobby, and Coco went to see her a few weeks ago. Also, understanding that she will be moved to Huntsville pretty soon and won't be allowed visits when she arrives in Huntsville. Wouldn't he want to see his mom or allow other family members or siblings, or his siblings, to go see her as the execution date is very close? You know anything about their family situation when it comes to that, as far as visiting and?
I do know that Selena is not on her visitation list because it's a limited amount that can be put on there. 30 days prior to execution, she will be moved into isolation. She can continue to get mail and she can continue to send mail, but there are no visits. She will be in total isolation at that point.
Not even family, just no visits unless it's legal,
Legal,
right?
legal, she can, yeah.
Wow. I mean, such such a such a tough time to be isolated and alone. When you would, I imagine there's a chaplain that she can talk to, and
Yes, yes, there
but
is.
it's just a
Yes, there is.
bad
And
situation.
I don't know if your viewers are aware of what happens. Once they're brought to Huntsville for the execution. They're put into a room that is approximately 12 feet, maybe maximum, from the death chamber, and she will be served the meal that they are serving that day. It used to be that they got a meal of their choice; they could have whatever, and that kind of got abused and things like that. So, of course, TDCJ changed that rule. Um, she'll be taken out of her uniform. She'll be put into a paper gown, and she will be. She can have her chaplain and her legal people can come in, and she'll be taken to the death chamber. She'll be strapped down with 3 straps on each arm, her legs across her body. Needles will be put into her arm that are attached to 3 different vials in the back, and they await the final call. And then she's allowed to make a statement, and then the drugs start. And she would probably be deceased within 12 to 15 minutes, depending on how quick.
Hmm. Kind of like the way they show in the movies, pretty much. I mean,
Yes. Now, she can have designated people in the observatory watching this.
and these are people that she
Of
can
her choice.
request to be there, that she can request,
Yes.
but they don't
Her
have to
choice.
comply. They don't have to say, yeah, okay, I'll go.
No, I've been to one, no, two, and it leaves a lasting effect.
Hmm.
It's something mentally that you never forget. I think that was one reason why I push hard with all my cases. I try to do the very best that I possibly can. Um, death, these death cases never go away. I look at Mr. Williams, that even after the state of Texas killed him, they later came back and found that the fire marshal didn't do his job right, and that the fire that killed his wife and the kids, it wasn't his fault. But I mean, how are you going to bring him back?
Hmm. Yeah. Oh man, that's just thinking about everything you said. That the whole process is. Did she have any idea when she was being interrogated by the police that she could ask for an attorney?
I
And
have no
just
idea. I told her. She said there's a lot of things that she has learned since that she wished that she had done, and
wow.
it's very unfortunate. But that's why I tell everybody, I don't care if you're in there for a dog abuse case. Keep your mouth shut. I want an attorney, and you don't talk about nothing.
Wow. And this is something that I take for granted, as everybody knowing this stuff. If you get arrested, for whatever it is, I assume that the world knows this, that you don't have to talk to police. And don't they? Hopefully, they read her Miranda rights. I'm sure this was already looked into. You would think she knows you have the right to remain silent. You know,
Even though that Miranda's read to them, they're stupid. They think they're going to fix it. They think that I'm going to tell them what they want and then we're going to go home. No, you're screwing the pooch.
Hmm.
And the pooch is you.
Yeah. Thank you. If I'm not mistaken, Bobby said he fell down steps. It wasn't a lot of steps, but much less the whole steps.
At this point in time, it doesn't matter who said what. What I'm concerned about is not what these kids are saying, but it's the legalities. It's the reasonable doubt. It's the screw up that Gilman gave her. It's the non-proper defense for a capital death penalty case. I have issues with that Texas Rangers investigation and his interrogation. My issues now are not what the kids said or who said or what said. My thing is that she did not get a fair trial.
Yeah, it's pretty evident. I mean, Jose, I don't believe that John alone can dictate who can or cannot visit Melissa. If it were someone I truly wanted to see, no one could stop me.
Yeah, because you have to be on a visitation list, sir.
Yeah, and Melissa's the one who's
bounce up there. Yeah, exactly. You can't just bounce up there and tell that warden that you're going to come in and visit. It don't work like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I even toyed with the thought of going to talk to her, but the credentials I would need, and it would just at this point in time, it'd just be it's not a good time. Not a good time. All the siblings say Mariah was terrified of Alex. Yeah, I've heard that before too. Who has she told? If she has, why is she still on death row? I think, well, it's a process. That's why, and it's a process. If everything was that quick to happen, yeah, she'd be home already. You figure. Let's see.
You know, people ask, well, why are they on death row for 30 years or 25 years or whatever? And you know, you just don't get how long it takes for these courts and the appeals process to go through. And that's why, folks, I tell everybody, if you're ever on a jury, really consider life without parole, because there's only one appeal. You get an 11.07 appeal. That's it. You get one. But on death row, it's appeal after appeal after appeal. And I see why, because there are situations like this that they just didn't get it right. And it's deserved and everything else.
So we don't know the timeline of at what point did she fall, and why didn't anybody raise a flag or say, hey, she fell, she's hurting, take her to the doctor. I don't know that Melissa knew that at that exact point when she fell or was thrown down, whatever, when the injury happened, let's say.
I don't think anyone really did, except for Alex and Selena.
Yeah. I agree that Melissa is innocent. Hated that Alex hated Mariah because she was from a different dad. And she said that. Yes, she didn't say it like that, but she said that pretty much.
No, she did say that. She goes, she's really not my sister.
Yeah. They are from different dads. Her sister says Alex is a monster.
And what's that got to do with, what does any of that have to do with freeing Melissa?
Understood. Yeah, even if Melissa has told someone she didn't kill Mariah, she was still convicted. Remember, everyone in jail is innocent.
But the thing is that Melissa is not innocent of negligence, but she is innocent of having killed this child. I will give you my license on that.
Tina Marie, Ms. Garsee, I like you. I do not know you, but just hearing you, I like you as with Manny. Thank you. Yes, praying for this family. God will shed light on the darkness. This is so sad.
Thank you, Tina.
And yeah, and that's what happened. I was very close on bringing the family on, and after that night, a couple days passed, and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and it just wouldn't be. It just wouldn't be right. It just,
Manny, what would it
you know,
serve?
yeah, it wouldn't. It
You know,
wouldn't.
right now it's not a matter of he say, she say, we say, he say, I'm ticked at him, I don't like her. This is nothing to do with the legalities of writs and trying to get this thing back for a new trial. That has nothing to do with this. You know, if they need to go, put their dirty laundry out into the public, let them go find a park and do it.
Yeah. And it's been suggested they'd be better off going and talking to, lock everybody up in a room and let's hash it out, you guys, and figure
Oh,
it out.
I figured there'll be a murder or two after that too.
Man. So another question was early on, it's like, why didn't this get a lot of coverage? And not that you would know specifically why, but this wasn't, a lot of people are just learning about this in the last few months. And then more people are learning about it since I've been talking about it and dealing with this, but people didn't know what was going on.
Well, on my Texas private investigator LinMarie Garsee page,
Yes.
I screamed it when I was working it. It's one of those that her family let it fall through the cracks. They really didn't give a shit back then. But now that it's coming down to, this part of it, unfortunately, now everybody wants to get, a piece of the pie. Now they want to tell what they know or don't know, or they want to, I think the family wants attention, is what I'm thinking. They're not worried about their mama. They just want the attention. They want their 15 minutes of fame. And you know what? That fame thing went away a long time ago. They need to be doing something positive with their lives and turn their own lives around. And stop worrying about what their brother is doing or whatever. They need to get a grip on their own realities.
Yeah. So flowing into that, we talked about what can be done now. Yes, sign that petition. And it boggles me how just last month there was a brother with his stepbrother, if I'm not mistaken, they were stepbrothers, and a friend. They decided to take justice into their own matters when they found out that their stepfather was molesting their little sister.
I love that. Unfortunately, that they're in trouble for it, but I commend them.
Oh yeah, and everybody's like, yeah, I would do the same thing. I would do the same, and of course, they're heroes, so to speak. And that got a lot of coverage. Those signatures on that petition, almost 200,000 signatures already.
That's right.
But
still, I have to go back. That dad or stepdad, he still deserved his day in court. Because let me tell you something, you get to prison, don't drop the soap, buddy.
Yeah, bad things happen to child molesters if they make it to prison.
Oh yeah. There's brooms, there's all kinds of things.
And you can call a prisoner or a criminal, a convicted criminal, what you want, but there's something about a child predator that people don't like.
You got it. But you asked what we could be doing besides that petition. I think that people could be writing to pardons and paroles, not a nasty in your face kind of letter, but hey, I support Melissa Lucio. I support her 100%. I believe that she needs a new trial based on the evidence that has been brought forward, that she did not get a fair trial in the beginning. There is extreme reasonable doubt, and we would like for you to please rule in her favor during the clemency hearing, and things along that line. You can also be emailing and calling and writing to your state and Congress representatives. Now is the time. She's not executed. The other thing that I want y'all to go sit in a trial, even if it means taking a few days off from work, and just don't go the first day because that's when they pick the jury. But go
Right.
like the second, third, and do like a day or two with the defense. I mean, the prosecutor, because they put their case on first, and then go sit in and listen to the defense. You'll learn on these judges that you're electing, some of them suck.
Yeah.
They ain't worth 2 pennies. I
People,
wouldn't give you. Oh no.
yeah, do your research when you go to vote. This is why you vote or don't vote for certain judges, certain people that want to be judged, or a certain judge that maybe doesn't need to be there anymore.
And what about your district attorney? You vote for him too. So you
Yeah.
really want all this kind of garbage in there? And just because your brother and your daddy and your mama's voting for him, that don't mean you gotta. Faith.
Why does the
Why does-
baby's grave? Okay, why didn't it was a while before the baby had a marker? Because I know Sabrina said at some point there was no
At
marker.
least as of 3 weeks ago, the baby didn't have no marker because I go by there every time I come to South Texas.
And then it's been said in another video, I think John said it himself. I don't know if he said it on a chat that we were watching or something, that he's already arranged for a stone. Somebody put something there. It was wrong
there
or in
was
the
a little
wrong area.
angel,
Okay.
and it had a little marker.
Okay. So
But that
now
was gone.
they're waiting for that to come off so that they can install.
But he
the
was doing a
stone.
GoFundMe. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You got 14 siblings. How many cousins? How many aunties?
Mm.
How many grandmas? And you think that y'all have all these birthday parties and pachangas and everything else, and y'all couldn't have all come together with $10, $15 a piece and got that baby a marker before now? Oh, that's hogwash. I was going to do it. Initially, I said I would. But then after I started counting all these heads and these cousins and the mamas and the daddies and the uncles and hearing about these pachangas, I was like, I know where that baby's buried, and I go see that baby every time I come south. And that's about once a month. That's the family's responsibility. But they don't have their priorities straight.
Yeah, and Selena was asked about that, and she said, "Oh well, the attorney said he was taking care of it," and that's all she had to say about it. You know, why didn't you put together collect funds to get a stone or a headstone for her? And the attorney said they were taking care of that, so we didn't bother.
Oh, that's hogwash.
Yeah, that was.
I
the
ain't
comment
buying
for
that
them.
hog.
What are the chances of Melissa's execution being stopped without the governor getting stepped in? I know the governor can decide at the last minute. From what just opinion, from what you see, if you had to put a percentage on it, is there a chance that this could be?
Well, that'd be like me telling you to take $200 and go down to that Gashada casino and roll them dice and hope that your numbers come up.
Yeah, that's
I ain't got the crystal ball, baby.
great live. She is amazing. That's for you.
Hey, Don.
Let's see. I don't understand those kids' behavior at all in reference to their mother. Strange. Yeah, it was a circus that night last week when I was on, and it was just I got caught up in it, and I didn't want something like that to happen. But next thing you know, you're kind of caught up in it, and
that's why I don't get involved in those kinds of things. Is because I don't want to get caught up in it. Because I'll tell them just how stupid they are. I mean, I'll tell them how the cow ate the cabbage. I mean,
yeah, it was very juvenile. I know emotions are involved, but when you got
why
people,
are the emotions involved in protecting each other? The emotions aren't involved in protecting their mother, and the emotions aren't involved in making sure that that baby is honored in some way. How come you can't have a balloon release? How come you can't go out there on her birthday? You live just a few miles away from that cemetery. They're not worried about Mariah, and they're not worried about Melissa. It's all about them.
Yeah.
That's the most self-centered bunch of kids I ever did see in my life.
Very sad, sad situation. Does Melissa even want to? Not that she's not. She doesn't mean this in a bad way. I know that. Does she even? Is she? Has she accepted the fact that she just may not live past the 27th?
I believe that she has peace, but I believe that she wants to live.
Are you able to see Melissa? And if so, do you see her? Did you have? When's the last time you actually talked to her?
I could go if I wanted to. I write her and she writes back on occasion. But once again, I try not to get emotionally involved. I have other clients, unfortunately, that I have to keep a clear head and not get emotionally distraught so that I don't think clearly for their cases as well. It's not
Hmm.
that I'm putting Melissa on the back burner at all.
Right. One of the appeal docs online shows some misconduct in prison. I saw it myself. Not sure if this is true, but it's in there.
I don't know what to tell you.
Let's see. Man, just for the record, when I hold on. There's no way I could sit there and watch that happen. And it's not for everybody, to watch a. I can't even imagine what the earlier ones, electric chair, or I
Mm,
mean, I can't even imagine watching something like that.
the stench of burning skin and hair.
Yeah. I've seen a fake one. If that's anything like the real one, I still wouldn't want to see it. The fake one shook me up. This was a long time ago. There was a movie called a series of movies called Faces of Death,
Yeah,
and
that's not right.
they say they showed an execution and they patched up his
Mhm.
eyes and all, and
Yep.
then
Yeah.
yeah, it's just hearing that is so sad. It is, and the fact that she doesn't, and I know it's prison, but the fact that you're isolated when you would like it would seem now all these days leading up to
Well,
as
I
they
mean, she's
count
basically
down.
isolated now, though, Manny,
Mm,
because they're in separate chambers, they're in separate cells. So it's not like she's, back whenever death row for the guys was at Ellis too. I mean, um, they had jobs, just like a general population. They were given a 40-hour week. Everybody thinks, oh, they go to prison and they don't have to do anything. No, that's not right. Everybody is entitled to a 40-hour week, or you have to do a 40-hour week, or you can be disciplined. And so until the crazy ones decided to try to escape and were killed in the pond out there at Ellis, then they moved everybody to Biloxi.
mm. I know you're a private investigator. Do you have an emotional connection with what is going on with this, with Melissa or the case itself?
Right now, it's compartmentalized.
Yeah, and that makes and that's hard to do that, I imagine. But with seeing so much that you've seen, I imagine you've learned to
I've
separate
been doing this
things.
for 29 years. So it's not that I'm calloused. Um, Out of all of my clients, I have 5 who write me on a regular basis. They're indigent. So every quarter, whenever they get their little stamp and their little piece of paper, I get some kind of, you're the mama I wish I would have had, because I do preach to them. I mean, I tell them, you did wrong, dude. And, but I try to also be human to them. Um, and out of 29 years, 5 is all that I communicate with. Um, it doesn't mean that, and I will tell you, this case eats me.
Mm,
It eats me to the core. But I also know that I have to compartmentalize it right now. And that's why I'm here. I'm trying to teach y'all, the do's and the don'ts, and how bad the appellate issues are. And I'm trying to teach you, shut up.
yeah.
If you ever get arrested, and I know that sounds real ugly and everything else, but can I say, you just can't keep talking. You're not going to help yourself. I'm trying to educate you on things that you could do, who you can vote for, you know, and things like that. Um, because things don't get changed until it happens to you. And until you
Yeah.
are in the middle of it, you don't understand everything that goes on around it. You don't understand. If you've never had anybody in the legal system, you're very fortunate. But if you have, you've had to learn. You've had to, um, well, what happens next? Well, why
Mhm.
are we having so many docket calls? Well, what about this? Well, what about that? You know, the state is supposed to, under the Brady and Michael Morton Act, give the defense every piece of information that they have regarding what they have against the defendant. And it's up to that attorney to make darn sure that they have.
Mhm.
Now, I have a case right now that I probably know more than what the state's investigator knows.
Wow.
But that's neither here nor there.
The lethal injection concoction is very expensive. Texas Department of Corrections must be desperate to use it.
It's not that expensive.
Maybe then Selena and Alex will go see their mother. Well, I wonder if they will go see their mother when she's being put to death.
No, she's not on the. They're not on the list.
They're not on the list at all. Not even.
They're not on the list, and they won't be on the list.
So she doesn't plan on changing that anytime soon. You think? It's such unbelievable that some Melissa children are passive aggressive, advocating for their mother to be executed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine this was brought up yesterday. Perhaps a couple of them are trying, hoping if this happens, then everything will go away
No,
and
there's no
be.
statutes of limitations on murder. And I wanted to ask this one question. Why are they so adamant to make a stink about themselves and about their mama? What are they hiding? Well, I know what they hiding, but you know what? It's not going to be hid. They can
Yeah,
still come after them. The
yeah.
state can still come after them.
Hmm. Okay, I want to get to one more other thing here. Guys in the chat, please keep the comments too related to this program. I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. You guys can go and take that elsewhere. Please. Let's see it. Too many people have dropped the ball. Yes, I did get that. When questioned by police, you have the right to say, I do not answer questions.
No,
Yeah, actually get me an attorney is what the
no,
first thing you
that
should
is
say.
not what you say. Nadia, you say, I want an attorney. And that's what you say. Not, I don't answer questions. I want an attorney. And then cerrada su boca.
And then that's it. Keep it zip and wait for your attorney. I don't know how that works. I mean, they have the right to keep you locked up until the attorney shows up, or how does that? I don't know. It
Yeah, but
depends on.
usually you're entitled to a phone call. Sit there. I'd rather sit there and wait for an attorney to come that can help me and get me a good mouthpiece rather than sit there and let my mouth overload my hummingbird butt.
Yeah, I just hungry hippo. I just don't get the isolation for 30 days without family before execution. That's when you would need the most, and that's what I was trying to get at. That's when you need to talk to somebody.
But
Like,
you don't understand. TDCJ's job is to break you. It's to break you mentally. It's to exhaust you mentally so that you're lethargic almost whenever you come into the death chamber. And plus, it's also to protect TDCJ guards because there has been shanks brought in. There has been the Graham guy that whenever he was executed and his mouth opened afterwards, and he had a key inside of his mouth, inside of his jaw, that went to the cuffs.
no.
Yeah, yeah. So
Whoa.
it's not only for her or whomever, but it's also in a protection of TDCJ guards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that does make sense. I believe Selena's saying she doesn't want her mother to be put to death because she's against the death penalty. It doesn't make Selena look good. It appears as though she's saying something about her mother's innocence instead. Um,
It doesn't have any bearing on the legalities going on right now.
Mr. Gilman, any chance ever in the future from what, I don't know, maybe that's another thing you can't talk about. Would he ever be held accountable for any of this, for not
Well,
doing more?
let's put it like this. If things come back, okay, let's look at Michael Martin. He served 25 years for a crime that he didn't do based on the fact that the Williamson County District Attorney withheld evidence. Whenever the Michael Martin Act was ruled on, the Williamson County DA at that time lost his bar card, was disbarred. Okay. So I could only hope that karma happens for everybody who has had anything negative involved in this case. I don't wish any ill will on anyone, but I do see some karma coming around. And you know, sometimes God has a real good sense of humor and we're around that we get to watch it.
Mm, mm. I'm going to remember that. Hey, Danielle, welcome. Let's see. Exactly, that's right. They should teach that in schools. I know it's the kind of a thing that teaching about life, right? I think more life lessons need to be taught as you're in through at least through high
Not
school.
only life lessons, but you need to teach these kids to be able to think other than a STAR test.
Yeah, I think I've asked this on another discussion. So, what happens if they do let her go? Will Alex be charged? Well, that's a whole other separate
That's a whole
thing,
nother book.
right? They're not even, these two things are not even related. If she goes, if she's free, that's the end of that story, presumably. And whatever happens after that, if they decide to go after or pursue that, that's
But you know, Angela, that's one thing that you can be asking your district attorney.
So Villalobos now has been released. I think he's in what they call the supervision part of the
Supervised
yeah,
parole. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there was, who mentioned this? He's had his mind. No, what is it? His feelings have now changed, and he
Oh,
wanted
he's
to.
probably got a guilty conscience.
Yes,
Let's be
yes.
honest about that now.
And
So
they've
don't
said
talk about
he's
feelings.
asked. They said he's asked to speak to the legal team on this case, and presumably it's because he wants to say, "Look, this is what happened," or I don't know. Who knows? I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but all of a sudden he wants to talk, and I don't know if that's a good idea or not, or if, legally if that's a good thing or not. I didn't hear the Hungry Hippo usually is usually the opposite. The punishment doesn't fit the crime.
No.
That's a piss poor excuse. Alex sibling is a sibling.
Alex is more than just it's more than just piss poor, because she never liked that baby to begin with.
Yeah.
And she always said, "That's not my sister."
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the documentary, guys, it's not the end all be all, the one that's 100%, but a lot of things, it will open up your eyes. It's the state of Texas versus Melissa. It's on Hulu. Interesting watch. What happened to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt?
That's my whole thing, is that I think that had the jurors knew then what they now know, then I don't think we would be where we are right now.
Yeah, it could have been one person that Gilman brought forward, one person or whatever it is.
If he would have brought an expert in, but okay, let me talk about this. The state has innumerable resources. Like, another reason that I was pushing so hard to get evidence for the state and federal writs is because I was only given this much money to investigate it. The state has that much money to investigate. Right now, in one court, they wanted to start a mitigation expert out at $5,000 for a capital case. And a mitigation expert for a capital case is 35,000 plus. Easy.
Oh, wow.
Easy. But they only wanted to give her $5,000. And then you can come back and ask for more money. Maybe I'll give it to you. And yet there's funds available that these judges are holding on to this money as if it's coming out of their checkbook. So that's another thing that people need to realize, is that even though you're court appointed, that doesn't mean that we have, and believe me, there are cases that I believe in that I go way past what that court's going to pay me simply because I believe in that client. But not a lot of investigators or mitigation experts like myself will do that.
Yeah.
You know, whenever they run out of money, they're done and they're gone.
Yeah, I figured somebody might be surprised that one or more of her children are not on here commenting or,
No,
saying
because
something.
I guarantee you they don't want to piss with me.
I believe that. You should bring the family on. Yeah, see, I'm not going to do that. Each of the RG do have crumbs of the truth of what happened to Mariah. I mean, they each have their own little version of what happened, I imagine, but it's not. I don't think it's in the best interest of
It's not
Melissa.
productive.
Yeah.
It's counterproductive.
And if you guys watched last Thursday's event, you'll see why it's not. I don't want that. I don't. It's best way I could describe it. It became a circus, and I don't need that for that to happen.
Jean, yes, you are correct. This happens a lot of times in many, many communities, but probably not to this extent. It's not as obvious as this is.
It will go viral once the news makes it make it a point of Melissa being the first Hispanic woman being executed. After the fact, then everybody's going to want to talk about it.
But no.
You're right, Lori. After the fact, that's when everybody's going to want to talk about this.
But the thing is that y'all can be making noise. How come you've not gotten your local television stations involved? How come you've not gone to your congressman? How come you've not gone to your state representatives? How come you're not knocking on that door of that damn DA's office and saying, why are you doing this? Those are your tax dollars down there, people.
Yeah. Yeah, I am going to reach out to the press. I'd like to know why there isn't more coverage on this. And signed a petition. I have, and we're going to have the people from freemelissalucio.org come on, and they're going to be a little more specific as to who to talk to, where to go, what to write, that kind of thing, and to get more involved. I'm very interested in this. I've become consumed by it, and I'm very interested, and I'm very to the belief that she is innocent of murder, a capital crime, and that this is not the place for her to be. Was there negligence? I mean, that's obvious, but not death penalty wise, And
you had another case down there in 1985, and I'm going to flip this around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Lorinda Rocha, she was murdered at the Motel 6 there in Harlingen. And Tony Gonzalez, who was the perpetrator, had led her to believe that he was a doctor because he worked at the hospital. And in essence, he was just a guy that wore a lab coat. And she got pregnant, and so he stole ether and was going to do an abortion on her. So she checked into the hotel, Motel 6, and he did a botched abortion. Well, he also she got into pain, so he gave her more ether, and she, her breathing really, really slowed down. So he thought that she was dead. So he sits there and smokes 2 joints, lights the place on fire, causes the fire, hoping that she'll burn to death, but she didn't. And he was, he took a plea for arson for 30 years or 40 years, got out in 18. And because he decided he would do that instead of taking the capital death penalty case that they were fixing to re-indict him on. So there's a little twist to how, Valley law is. In fact.
Wow. And she survived, you said?
No, she's dead.
No.
Can you see that one? Justice for Lorinda.
Justice for Lorinda.
This is his story.
Book you have written.
Yes.
You've got 4 books under you, is that correct?
9.
9 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get these titles from you. People do like to read these things.
That's
awesome.
Because I'm involved with a group called Quilts for Vets, where all of a sudden now the World War II veterans are coming out of the woodwork and wanting their stories told. So we're working on that. And
speaking about fame, do they when the family members go on different shows, do they get any kind of compensation? I know people like me don't pay. They come on, and if you want to come on, I'm not
some
paying
of them
you to come
do,
on.
but I believe that Sabrina has been forking out the money for their expenses to get there.
Yes, they go viral. Let's see. I agree. How come this isn't going viral? Crazy. She's the first Hispanic woman on death row.
Yeah, I should say Hispanic, because I remember Tammy Faye and the Black Widow lady, Betty.
Oh man, yeah. And there was another case I was listening to on one of Sabrina's videos. There was a 40-minute documentary, and there was a woman who was sentenced to death row. I can't think of her name right now. She was sent to death row, and then she was let off because some evidence came up, but they asked her to plead no contest, and then they would let her out. So they let her out.
Yeah, but they wanted conviction.
The no contest was to protect them from being sued.
Exactly.
Because she would have been awarded around $1.5 million for all that time in prison. He said They figured it at about $100,000 per year.
Correct.
Oh man, yeah. It's don't drop the soap. Yeah, that's for sure. I heard child molesters get the worst of it when they're locked up. Irma wants to know, where are you from?
I have an office in Hempstead. I live in Beaumont. That's where my homestead is. And I also have a place down in South Texas. So I frequent South Texas about every 4 to 6 weeks.
And you briefly mentioned if everything does make it to that 27th, you plan on going down into Huntsville?
I will be in Huntsville. Yeah. I will not go in and watch the execution, but I will be there in the visitors area. I will not be with the death penalty group. I will be by myself, or probably with Margaret Schmucker.
I have a feeling John's son, John Lucio, will live a good life, because he appears to be doing everything to heal and live right now. He doesn't even talk ugly to his siblings like they do to him. That speaks volumes. So do we know anything about, is anything you can speak of to how involved is Richard in all of this? As far as you know, did he see anything ever? Did he live there with them?
That's an attorney question.
Gotcha. It's so monotonous sitting in court. I know it is those 3 days you got to go back and you got to wait till they see if they pick you or not. But if they do pick you, it's actually fascinating.
Yeah, but the thing is that sitting in court and hearing the testimony beats the heck out of being in a jury panel that you're being asked a bunch of dumb questions to decide if you're going to be a juror. But when you're actually hearing the testimony that's taking place, some of it can be pretty riveting. I mean, it's better than watching your NCIS on TV.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite interesting, and I wish I could be a juror more often, but that doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you're not a juror, it's even more interesting because then you can discuss. Um, you can take notes, your own notes, and you can go back and think about the different things that you were told or the different things that you heard. And so to me, in fact, I just had a trial here in Waller County, and there was a guy that came in, and it was a sexual assault case, and the guy came in, and so I asked him, I said, "Are you a witness for us or for the state?" Or he goes, "No." He said, "I just like to come and listen to the testimony." He says, "I want to know what's going on in my county." And I loved it.
That's where it should be. Exactly what I said. Why did they have to fight? Why didn't they just talk about the headstone, etc.? As they're talking about the other night. Yeah, it's
because they're selfish.
I know, and I think John was away. He said or somebody said around 10 years.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know if he's the hero in this. With that, when it comes to the headstone, but it sounds like when he came out and realized that there was not even a headstone, that's when he decided to do a GoFundMe. And
Well,
if that's what it
you gotta
was,
do a GoFundMe when you got all that family. If y'all can all get together for a party, why you got to do a GoFundMe?
Well, it sounds like because he probably knows why.
Well, yeah, because everybody gonna have sympathy and donate the money.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have a mom. Come on, these kids are what they were taught.
But they don't have to stay that way. They have choices. They're adults. They can do something that is beneficial to them and their children.
Yeah, I pray that she has peace, guilty or not. Not only Melissa's children, but her siblings as well. You have been a very informative guest, awesome guest. Thumbs
Thank
up
you.
for you. It's scary. My brother, age 17, sentenced 25 years. No evidence for attempted murder. Almost killed by guards in Los Angeles. He just got out and is damaged mentally. Public defender even said he was innocent. Man, that's just so wrong. People, going to prison when they got no business in there. It happens more often than we think.
Where's these, we're talking about these kids. I wish they'd get a hobby. Do something, go to school, go read a book, go do something productive.
Yeah, well, it seems like one found her hobby, which is TikTok. Isn't it lethal injection? In this case, yes. It will be. Yeah, I don't know. Does Texas do anything else but lethal injection right now? Do you know?
Not
that?
At this time.
Only lethal injection.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't watch an execution. Yes, I couldn't watch an execution. Yes. Well, if Alex caused Mariah's death, she did get away with it. It seems.
No, she hadn't.
Not yet. Not yet. Nothing is done. What kind of life must she live knowing she actually killed two people, Mariah and her mom?
And I want to say something on that one. She may get by with it here on Earth, but at some point she's gonna have to meet her maker. And that's the life that's the most important.
Yeah. This one is okay. We talked about this before a little bit. We just hit on it again. Governor Abbott, pull your head out of your butt. This makes Texas look ignorant, send a bad message about the state. Here, listen to this. Listen to this. Yeah.
Faith. You weren't listening whenever I told you that Governor Abbott can't do doodly squat until after the clemency petition is given to Board of Pardons and Paroles, 21 days prior to the execution date, and after they have ruled, then he can. And the more y'all keep saying crap like that, I'm going to tell you, just like I said earlier, if I was Governor Abbott and y'all kept on to me like that, I'd just say, nah, I don't think I'm going to go along with that. Stop it.
Yeah, the Governor Abbott can't do anything at all right now. His hands are tied. He's got no say in this one way or the other until
After pardons and parole have done their thing.
Yep. And they say, all right, we're done now. Here, this is what you got. And that could happen now. It could happen 2 minutes before.
The petition hasn't been filed yet.
Oh, okay.
The clemency petition is filed 21 days to execution date. So the petition will be filed probably by the 6th of April.
Okay. And still, until they review it and they go, okay, we're not doing anything with this.
Gene, it wouldn't be the first time. It would not be the first time.
I hope this
The
doesn't
governor will not be given the stay of execution. He might give a clemency, but he does not give the stay of execution.
Yeah. So how does that work at that very last, when it's in the final few minutes and they decide, okay, yeah, let's.
Hey, we have waited on one up to 2.5 hours, and finally got a decision that was against us. And instead of it being a 6 o'clock execution, it was an 8:45.
Oh, really?
Everybody was on damn pins and needles.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah. So you know, like I told you, take that $200, go to shot and put you a number and roll the dice. Nobody knows.
She's right. Never talking to you. Have an attorney. Period. Tell that to your kids. Tell that to your family. The other night we had a family from California who they're having
that vegan.
Yes, you saw some of that. I think
I did,
and that was his advice to everyone. The father's advice was, if you ever have to deal with CPS, don't let them into your house. They have no jurisdiction whatsoever. They show up with police for their benefit, not to harass you. They're there for their own benefit. That's for them, for their protection. Don't let the police intimidate you. Don't let them in the house. Once you let them in the house, your goose is cooked. Because then they start looking at everything. So kind of along the same lines as, ask for an attorney. Remember that stuff. So Tina, so sorry happened to you and your family. I can't even imagine. People don't realize they don't have to talk. Yeah, you have no reason to say anything. So don't. Yeah, but you have to say, it's better to say, I would like to speak with an attorney.
3 words. I want an attorney. 4 words.
I want an attorney.
I want an attorney.
Damn, things don't change unless they change. Yeah. So what do you do when you're not, I'm going to call it fighting crime. What do you do when you're not writing books and writing your notes or investigating cases and people? What do you do in your off time?
I run a nonprofit. It's called Quilts for Vets. If anybody's on Facebook, go look us up. We give quilts to World War II and Korean conflict veterans all over the world. We just recently got back from Pearl Harbor, it was the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and we gave out 170 quilts to World War II veterans. We do interviews with them, and evidently right now I just wrote one. I'm in the middle of writing another one, and I just got commissioned today to write 3 more because they were all in the European stuff together. And with those 3, I've also added a lady who was 3 years old at the time whenever the war broke out, and she's going to talk about being a child during it. Wow. Yeah. So that would be 5, I guess, total books on World War II veterans. And but Quilts for Vets, I've said this so many times that I wish I would have begun this sooner, but I guess that God thought I wasn't ready yet. And I wish that I would have met so many of these veterans sooner so that I could have loved them longer.
Wow. So quilts. Let's talk about quilts. Is this a hobby? Is this a business?
I started quilting when I was 5 with my grandmother, and I can be commissioned to make a quilt,
Mm,
but we have approximately 8 of us right now who are quilting, and we just quilt for the veterans unless I'm commissioned to do something else.
that's
And like I
awesome.
said, we try to, whenever we give the quilt, we try to go live and we interview them, very similar to what we're doing right now. And at some point this year, we're hoping to put a book together of all of the photos that we've gotten,
Mm.
a tabletop book. And since we're nonprofit, we try to come up with ways that we can generate funds. And because right now it looks like about 60% of my salary is going towards quilts for vets. And so I need to start getting more donations in here.
Gotcha. And yeah, give me the information on that. We would love to, I would definitely post that. That's awesome. Where can people pick up your books at? Are they under your original name or do you have a
Yes.
pen name?
Yeah, hold on a minute. I've also written 2 true crime based on my cases. And I have 2 more that are about to be released this year. My most recent, I don't know if you can see that. Happy Birthday, Robert.
Happy birthday, Robert. Yep.
This is a love triangle that took place in Katy, Texas. And I just pulled these real quick. This is one of the World War II veterans.
From the cotton fields to battle sea to battles at sea.
So, and the next one is going to be My Longest Walk. He was a Mars Task Force Army soldier. They went into Burma after Merrill's Marauders did, and they walked 279 miles across the Himalayan mountains during monsoon season.
Holy crap.
And in fact, if you go to Quilts for Vets, and this was like, I mean, this was not a LinMarie thing. This had to be a God thing. But Jesse delivered a quilt to a Mr. Randolph. And he comes back and he says, he said, he talked about Burma and India. And I was like, what did he say about it? He goes, I don't know. I was just like eavesdropping. I was like,
Mm.
okay. And so I immediately call and find out that he was in Burma and he was in India. So I put Mr. Marino and Mr. Randolph together. They had tears. I got chill bumps. They had tears going down their eyes. Mr. Randolph was sitting on his bulldozer when he saw Mr. Marino's group turn left and head north up into the Himalayan mountains. They were
Oh,
both
wow.
in Burma 80 years ago at the same time.
Oh, man. That's amazing.
So it's just, it's pretty cool stuff like that.
Here, just a couple more up here. Why wasn't, and we talked about this already, why wasn't any of this evidence brought to light during her previous appeals? Sorry,
We
it got
did.
here
It
late.
is. That's why she got the reversal in the Fifth Circuit, is because Margaret did it when Margaret Schmucker did her state and her federal appeal. All of this was brought into that, and that's why there was a reversal, even though Cameron County didn't like that.
Yeah, and then Texas reversed it again, right?
Yeah, based on Cameron County.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Manny, glad you're giving exposure to this case. I will share with others to pray. Nothing is impossible with God. Thank you so much, Tina.
Exactly,
Definitely.
Tina. Absolutely.
Jean, can you ask her if they video chat over the last 30 days?
Video chat with who?
Have you video chatted, or have you? When did you? I think I asked you this already. When did you see Melissa in person at the prison last?
Whenever I was the investigator on the case. Right
Okay.
now there is another investigator, but there's nothing to investigate really.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are other things that are being done that I'm not allowed to discuss.
Yeah.
But Cameron County's fixed to have a surprise.
Don't say no more. She answered this too. Can the governor give her a stay of execution? We've already covered that. Question is Alex a danger to others? And she will probably refer that as a lawyer question.
That would be a psychologist question and not a lawyer question. That would be an Alex question. Um, are you abusive to your children the way you were to Mariah?
Yeah, that's deep. Emily, oh, you're welcome. Definitely gonna have to watch it. Definitely watch it. And then if you're,
Oh, do you know that y'all don't have to watch it on Hulu? That you can also order it on Amazon, so that you got the DVD there.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, so you can stream it on Hulu, or if you want to buy the DVD and just order it for the
Yeah, it's
cost of a
cheap.
rental, I think.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's cheap. I think I bought like 10 of the DVDs and passed them out to people that I thought needed to see it.
And then I think it's very good to watch. It will have you think about a lot of stuff, and then it's so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm glad they didn't really show the photos like head on, like every single one, like frame
Mhm.
by frame, because just that little scan, that pan that they did when they were going by the table, and the photos of Mariah are laid out on a table, and all you see is black and blue everywhere. It was just
But you also have to
heartbreaking.
understand that, medically, once a person dies, then they have, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, where the blood comes to the skin and it makes it appear,
Yeah, I forget the term for that.
um, and it makes it appear that it's a bruise.
Yeah, I forget the term. We just heard it a few days
I
ago
know it.
too.
I
I
did
know, I
too.
know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Very interesting and very informative from Emily. When the jurors should get together, then the jurors should get together and discuss what they might have done with missing information now that that's available.
How do you
Has
know
any
they haven't?
yeah?
How do you know that they haven't been interviewed?
Have any of the jurors been talked like publicly? Have they talked publicly
I
or
don't think they've talked publicly,
yeah?
but they've been interviewed.
Where can you watch a documentary? We just recently heard about the story. Not true. See, another that keeps. I don't know where you're at, and it's at this point, it should be very national news already. It's the case, the state of Texas versus Melissa. You can watch it on Hulu. You can also look it up on Prime, and you can buy the DVD on Amazon as well. Well worth it. Well worth it.
Even if I would tell you to buy the DVD and let your kids watch it, especially your teenagers. And I would use it as a teaching or an educational tool. And
Mm.
Chris, sorry, buddy, you got it wrong.
Yeah, Chris, you can't. I mean, with so much. No, yeah, I have to say too that's if it's your opinion, that's one thing. But if you think based on facts and based on what's been said, even though it wasn't presented, the things that we know now, you
And
got to think about that again.
science changes. That's something else that we've not even talked about. Science changes all the time.
Yeah. And bite marks,
Oh, shit,
there
please.
was never a thing with bite marks. Were they pinches? Were they bite marks? What were bite marks ever a thing with Mariah?
Well, they tried to say that the state's guy said that it matched Melissa,
Yeah.
but there was no rebuttal on that from the defense side because Gilman didn't find an expert that could say no, there's no such thing, and now it's ruled as junk science.
Yeah, and not admissible in most jurisdictions.
That's right.
Gilman said he couldn't put the siblings on the stand for being undisciplined, but he was just lazy. Yeah, he was talking about, oh, the kids are going to be running around, and I don't want to
How
upset
did
the
he know how
jurors.
the kids were going to act?
I couldn't believe he actually said that. Like, really? You're going to say this? So much went wrong for Melissa. And you know what?
And
And guilty or not, you want people to have a fair freaking trial.
that's it.
Prepare for different emotions towards different people. Yep. And to think of Rabbit signed a bill that parents can decide to pass their children regardless of their grades.
That has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, not for this. If you got a thing against Abbott, that's a whole other Just remember that on election time, campaigning time.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Who's running against him, in my personal opinion, ain't the person either.
Heck no. You want to come to
If
Texas?
you can't
You want
even
to
tell me what your real name is,
you want to come to Texas and tell people you want to take their guns away from them?
yeah,
Good luck with
ain't
that.
gonna happen, buddy.
How petty? I mean, seriously. In my opinion, I think that's what she means. You always do this. Oh, nah, sorry. I agree. Gilman said, I don't know if she really did it right there. It got me to like, what? Did he just really say that to himself? Yeah, I don't think he heard him say that to himself out loud, but he said it. First he said, "Yeah, I remember," and I don't think, and then he says, "Yeah, no, I don't remember." He said that all in the same segment. Innocence Project is involved right now. From what I understand, they're very involved. I don't want to say they took over, but they're involved in what they're trying to present. Let's see.
Lividity is the word I was looking for.
What's that?
Lividity.
Lividity. Oh.
When lividity sets in, it looks like bruises.
Let's see. Okay, I think we're good with the comments right now. I'm going to leave it at that. There's a lot of other nonsense going on here. Let me get this off of here. LinMarie, thank you so much for coming out and telling us whatever you can say. I think we did okay without going too much into stuff you can't say.
Well, I tried to. One of the things I like to do is to educate people, and a lot of people don't realize that there are time elements and there's certain procedures that have to take place before anything else can take place.
Yeah.
And I hope that I have educated people.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is a basic thing is I want my attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Yeah. Yeah, we will leave it at that right now.
Y'all be blessed.
Yeah, I would love to have you. I'd love to have you back at a later point. If there's any updates and see what's going on with this thing. I'm sure this is not the last we're going to talk about this. Because it's over a month, 40 days roughly, or something like that.
What is
something
today?
Like that. Today is the 15th. So
we're looking at 41 30 days.
Yeah. So that's right around the corner. I mean, this time will fly.
So 20 days they'll be doing their clemency petition.
So the 27th. So another couple of weeks, and she'll be at move to Huntsville. Is that right?
I don't know if they'll move her since she's female to Huntsville because that's an all men's unit. Or if they'll just, put her there. I think that Tammy Faye, that they just, but they change it up so much. I mean,
yeah,
no one knows. And they're not going to tell you when they do it because they don't want anybody to try to, deter them from getting from point A to point B for the safety of her and the safety of their guards.
Yeah, this is definitely we'll keep an eye on this, and this will be the topic of discussion a lot for the weeks to come.
Well, Manny, I'm going to tell you something. I want to thank you because you have been very devoted to this. It's something that has needed to happen a long time ago. So I really want to thank you for what you're putting into this because it has to be mentally stressful for you too. Not only with the kids, but with the execution date coming on. So I just want to say thank you.
This is, once I learned of it, and it was very compelling to me, and I just couldn't believe that people didn't know this was going on, she's somebody from our backyard here, and why doesn't anybody know about this? And let's keep talking about
the same people.
Yeah. Nobody wants change. The corruption is there and it's rampant.
You think about it. Villalobos also had Joe Lopez with Grupo Maz. His trial was
or right after.
And, Joe went to prison and he used both this one and Joe's case as his stepping stone.
To bump up. Yep.
I'm going to take care of kids in my county.
Yeah. Everyone,
Please.
you can sign the petition just as a first thing you can do at freemelissalucio.org. I put the link up. It's a post on my post from yesterday. You can look at that. And I'm hoping in the next day or two to have the folks from freemelissalucio.org, and they can give us more insight, more detail as to what can be done if you want to get a little bit involved and make your voice heard on and your opinion on this. Because frankly, I think it's very important. It's a horrible thing for someone who is innocent, and I say that, we've talked about this already, of capital murder. Yeah, the crime, the punishment does not fit in this case, and it's not right, and it shouldn't happen. But watch the documentary, read about this, watch other videos, watch my conversation I had with Sabrina Fantassel. She's the creator of that documentary. That was last Thursday. And, form your opinion. And I think most of you will see, you know what? Yeah, she does deserve another trial, and she does not deserve the death penalty. All right, Lynn, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we will talk again in the near future. Well, any updates, we'll bring them on. If you're okay with that, we'll come in and we'll discuss it. People love to talk about this topic. It's not a wonderful topic, but, it's something that's very interesting right now.
Well, y'all go pass a good evening.
Everyone, have a great night. Thank you for stopping by and viewing. And I'll be back with you guys a little bit later tonight. We will talk to you later.